Hi, everyone. On behalf of myself and the PHEAA Executive Council, it's my pleasure and honor to welcome you to the 53rd Annual PHEAA Conference. Unbelievable. I can't believe it's been a year and a half since, and I think this has been the most challenging in our history for higher education this past year and a half. You would have to wonder if our founding founders ever would have thought that this would have happened, that we've been going for 50 years and we'd be using terms like global pandemic and COVID-19. I was online learning, remote learning, working from home. So I know it's been challenging for everyone. I want to thank you for everything that you've done for your institutions, especially the students and families. We've survived and we've thrived. So my concern is that, do you think this is the future of our conferences? Are we going to be virtual? I hope not. I truly enjoy spending my time there with my friends and my colleagues, and I hope that we see a bright light at the end of the tunnel here for next year. So my whole year as president, I've used PHEAA is not PHEAA without you, and I truly hope that. My hope and goal was not only to inspire more members, especially new members, to get involved in the association, but as a way to recognize, congratulate, and thank each and every one of you to make PHEAA what it is today. We have, I can't believe it, over 360 people that are registered for this conference, and I think that's just absolutely fantastic. We can be proud of the difference that we make in our lives with our students and our schools. I really believe that. So. As we begin this conference, I want to take time to reflect on how fortunate that we are to do what we do and how important it is that what we do for our families and students. Speaking of which, I want to take this opportunity on behalf of all of us to express our appreciation to our conference committee chair, Joni Travato from the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown, and her committee. Brian Bigley, University of Pittsburgh at Greensburg, Linda Cannon, Mount Aloysius College, Katrina Del Grosso from College Ave, Linda Pasowich from PHEAA, Peter Capucci from University of Pittsburgh, Antonia Spedin, Penn State Mount Alto, and of course, Dan Ray from PHEAA. I really appreciate everything that you've done to put this together, and hopefully it will be a fantastic event here the next few days. So I also want to, once again, PHEAA is not PHEAA without you, and I will never forget our business partners. We really cannot do this, and a special thanks to all of you. College Ave Student Loans, Sally Mae, SoFi, Cognition Financial, Inceptia, PHEAA, Campus Logic, McClintock and Associates, Citizens, the NHH-EAF Network, Credible, PNC Student Lending, Ed America, PHEAA, Ascendium Education Solutions, OSLOT, iHelp Private Student Loans, Earnest, Nelnet Student Loans, Ascent Fundia, Elm Resources, Discover Student Loans, NJ Class, and Iron Bridge Resources. Once again, I think we are one of the blessed state conferences that we have. We have such wonderful support from all of those, every one of you. So welcome and thank you, and to enjoy this conference. I'm going to open it up. The Secretary's report is posted on the PHEAA website for everybody to review. I am now going to turn this over to Krista Ondrick for the Treasurer's report.
Good afternoon, everybody. The Treasurer's report is also posted on the website. Our fourth quarter ended June 30th, 2021. Our net income was $168,746.86. Our account balances as of June 30th, 2021. The checking account $70,026.21. Our citizens credit card account is $12,220.85, and our Wells Fargo account is $741,800. $798.95. The first quarter end report for September will be reported at a later date by Jeffrey Lippincott, incoming treasurer. I'm happy to report for the 2021 spring training fees were $25 per person. Don Riley Institute live fee was $50 and recorded was $35. No outstanding AR to report on those. In the next month, Citizens Bank accounts will be handed over to Jeff, and Jeff will assume the role as PHEAA treasurer. He'll be the contact for the signing of the checks and the major contact for the PHEAA credit cards. I'm in the process of working with Denise Stanford, our insurance company, to sign over Jeff Lippincott as the policy for theft, which is I've already done since I reported this information. Financial information for fiscal year end has been submitted to Cheryl L. Palmer, our Waltz Group accountant. They're preparing their 990 and will be submitting the copies shortly. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal, for the report. If I added up those numbers, I think we're going to be approaching $1 million in reserves soon, folks. I think that's unbelievable. You know me as far as wanting to spend money. So next year, Colleen, we got a lot to look at as far as knocking that reserve down. So, and I'll be right by your side, actually. So don't worry about having a problem spending all of that. All right, I'm going to move into the PHEAA update, which is part of this session. And let me introduce Mr. James Steely. He is the President and Chief Executive Officer of PHEAA. Mr. Steely joined the agency in November 2015 as the Chief Financial Officer. In February 2018, he was also named Chief Operating Officer, then Interim President and CEO in July 2018. He took the official role of President and CEO in January 2019. Prior to joining the agency, Mr. Steely was Senior Vice President, Corporate Controller, and Chief Accounting Officer at Susquehanna Bankshares Incorporated, the Assistant Vice President of Finance at the Pennsylvania State Employees Credit Union, and a Senior Manager in Financial Services Practice for PricewaterhouseCoopers, LLP. Mr. Steely is a certified public accountant licensed in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and earned his Bachelor of Science degree in accounting at Elizabethtown College. Mr. Steely, I'm going to be turning it over to you. Thank you for your support with PHEAA, as always.
Thank you, George, and it's great to be with all of you. Sort of echoing some of what George said, I would much prefer doing this like we did back in 2019, where we could be in person, but you know, Zoom will suffice for now, and hopefully next year we'll be able to be back in person once again. If you bear with me 1 second, I'm going to share or attempt to share my screen. I have a short PowerPoint presentation that I'll run through. Okay, and I'm getting some nods from some of the folks in the room with me that they can see it. So hopefully all of you can see it.
Yes.
Yep, we're seeing it.
And to that end, awesome. It's great. Technology is great when it works. And I put that caveat out there because, you know, we've all had our fair share of challenges with technology over the last year and a half and doing things differently. I do have a couple of folks in the room with me. I am in our boardroom here in Harrisburg, so we are spread out and socially distant, but they'll be monitoring the chat. So if you do have questions during the presentation, go ahead and just put them in the chat feature, and then have Elizabeth McLeod and Will Lindsay sitting here with me. They'll be monitoring the chat. They may directly just answer the question right in chat, or may save it to the end and one of us can jump in and answer that question. And if it's a complex question, you know, and we have to look into things, we'll make sure we take down your information and someone will get back to you in the coming days. And to that end, if you also have a question on any of the programs I touch on or other programs in general that PHEAA administers, I'd encourage you to attend a session that Elizabeth McLeod is having this afternoon on the PHEAA administered programs. As she'll go over, I'm touching on things at a very high level. She'll go over a lot more detail with the programs. So jumping ahead to the first slide. You may recall when I was with you in person 2 years ago, I ran through PHEAA's mission, well, not just mission, sort of our rebooted strategy. So we wanted to spend some time going through our background and updates to that strategy. PHEAA was created 58 years ago by the Pennsylvania General Assembly with the primary mission of creating affordable access to higher education for Pennsylvania students and their families. Our operations began in 1964, and it actually began with just 4 employees in a one-room office in Harrisburg. Since then, and in partnership with PHEAA, we've helped millions of Pennsylvanians afford higher education while minimizing their reliance on student loan debt. PHEAA is governed by a bipartisan board of directors comprised mostly of state legislators. We exist solely to fulfill our public service mission. Our core mission has remained unchanged since the 1960s, which is providing affordable access to higher education. However, we recently added clarifying statements to ensure that our employees understand how they connect to our mission, no matter what part of the agency that they work in. You may recall from 2 years ago, a big part of our revised strategy was focusing on both customer and employee engagement. I believe these two things are connected. And one of the keys to really improving engagement is to enable employees to connect what they do in their day-to-day jobs to the purpose of the agency and our mission. So that's why we added these clarifying, they appear as bullet points, but I'll say clarifiers, so we can help all of our employees understand that the work they do day in and day out makes a difference and supports our mission. We also refreshed our vision and our strategy to best meet the needs of the evolving education environment. Our vision, I'm just going to take a second to read. It's to be a respected leader in higher education technology and student aid, devoting our energy, resources, and imagination to helping current and future generations of students achieve their educational goals. One of the key things I want to stress in this vision is the future generations components. And at this conference, we naturally focus on all of our grant programs. But one of the unique things during my 6 years at PHEAA that we were a part of was a partnership that we did with the last state treasurer, where we funded and provided the initial funding seed dollars for a program that's called Keystone Baby Scholars, where 529 plans are open for every child born in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Started out just as a pilot in several counties. Since then, the State Treasury Office has been able to expand it to all the counties in Pennsylvania. And it's just providing $100 seed money. And the idea is that, yes, that $100 will grow, but the idea is also that it'll provide a vehicle that parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, once that account is open, others can make monetary gifts. And over time, over 18 years, that money will grow. So we really like that program, but not just that program, trying to come up with some out-of-the-box ideas that really benefit not just the students enrolled today, but the students that are going to be enrolled in future years. So that's really, I think, one of the driving forces of our revised vision. And then we also developed for the first time a set of core values. And the values you can see on the right side of the slide, but the values we use are to guide our workforce in support of our mission and they are to be customer-centric, respectful, and inclusive, to be devoted to good citizenship, and to have the courage to evolve by taking ownership and viewing challenges as opportunities. And I'm receiving some technical assistance from Mr. Lindsay. Thank you. Okay, can you see this better now, hopefully?
Yes.
Okay. So a little bit of a history lesson. I mentioned that we were founded in the 1960s. We began operations in 1964. And over the years, we developed the expertise and systems to administer a variety of state-funded aid programs, the largest of which is the Pennsylvania State Grant Program. We began servicing student loans for commercial clients in the 1970s. We began originating, guaranteeing, and servicing non-subsidized federal loans in the 1980s. We were the first in the nation to offer a non-subsidized loan, which was then emulated by the U.S. Department of Education. PHEAA became a federal loan servicer in 2009 as it sought to diversify its business operations following the financial crisis and the end of the FELP program to help support its public service mission, most importantly, contributing to the need-based grant programs that we administer, especially the Pennsylvania State Grant Program. We were also one of the first guarantors to offer lower financial borrowing costs by waiving guarantee fees, which was back in 1986, and then origination fees in 1997, which was one of the unique aspects of the FELP program that was not available in the federal direct loan program. You may be familiar and have probably seen the news that we announced in July that we would not seek to renew or accept an extension of our federal contract beyond what was needed to ensure a smooth transition for all borrowers to another servicer. In the 12 years since we accepted the federal direct loan servicing contract, the federal programs as administered by the U.S. Department of Education have become increasingly complex and challenging, while the cost to service these programs increased dramatically. What made good business sense in 2009 no longer made sense today, as federal servicing was not providing a viable way to financially support our public service mission. Be assured that exiting the federal servicing space will help make PHEAA more financially strong as we refocus on our core mission for the Commonwealth and expand our more successful business lines, including commercial servicing and lending activities through our Pennsylvania Forward student loan program. Since the federal direct lending became the primary loan program in the US, 5 state-based servicers, including PHEAA, have exited or announced their exit of the servicing contracts with the Department of Education. And then more recently on the for-profit side, Navient announced their exit from this space as well. PHEAA is committed to servicing student loans until all borrowers are smoothly transitioned to another servicer without causing any disruption of service, which is we expect will take well beyond the December 14th expiration of our current contract. We're working with FSA to establish a successful transition plan and timeline, which we expect to take us at least into the summer of 2022. We're also working with FSA on an extension agreement, which we hope to finalize once the transition plan is settled and finalized. Moving on to the Pennsylvania State Grant Program. And again, Elizabeth McLeod, if you have very detailed questions, please save them for Elizabeth's session this afternoon. But and I think her session is at 3 p.m. But the Pennsylvania State Grant Program is really our flagship program. It was launched in the 1960s, and it's grown into one of the largest and most efficient programs of its kind in the nation. We recently awarded the 12 billionth state grant dollar to a student from Waynesburg University. And you can see his picture here. For the 2021-22 academic year, the current year, the need-based state grant program is providing grant awards to approximately 110,000 students, and we are able to boost the maximum award up to $5,000. This is the highest award amount in the program's history. A little more on the state grant program, and particularly how we engage with the higher education community and members of PHEAA to ensure that the state grant program is administered collaboratively and meeting the needs of our students. The program is guided by the Pennsylvania State Grant Advisory Committee, which is comprised of individuals representing a cross-section of higher education institutions and associations within the Commonwealth. This committee currently includes your 3 sitting PASFA presidents, representatives from ACUP, PHEAA, the PA Commission for Community Colleges, the Mid-Atlantic Association of Career Schools, and representatives of the state-related universities and other Pennsylvania post-secondary education sectors. The main purpose of this committee is to serve as the trusted advisor and subject matter expert on student aid issues for the Committee on Needs Analysis and Aid Coordination, which is an important committee of the PHEAA Board of Directors. Based on the recommendations of the State Grant Advisory Committee and other factors, the Committee on Needs Analysis helps establish the annual state grant awarding formula. Over its history, PHEAA has contributed more than $1 billion from its earnings to supplement the Pennsylvania State Grant Program and other need-based programs, while covering all the administrative costs of running these programs, as well as all of our outreach services, which typically those 2 activities cost about $15 million annually. This makes Pennsylvania student aid programs one of the most efficient in the nation, as every single dollar that the state legislature appropriates makes it out the door into the hands of students. Our research shows that recipients who are also Pell eligible as of initial enrollment on average borrow about $9,000 less over the 4 years of college than the typical Pennsylvania college graduate. While this research shows that the program is having a very positive impact for those that are state grant eligible, Pennsylvania still has the 2nd highest student loan debt in the nation, which is a burden felt by many students, including many middle-class students who may not qualify for Pennsylvania state grant awards. This is where additional Commonwealth funding for programs like the Ready to Succeed program could really make a difference, which is something I'll talk about in a few minutes. It's also really where any additional funding that gets pushed into the state grant program could also have an impact, as again, we look at the eligibility criteria annually. So the long and short is funding in these programs, we do know it makes a difference for the people that are eligible. The key is to get additional funding to get additional students eligible. Which is a good segue into the 22-23 Commonwealth budget. It may seem like 22-23 is a long ways away, but our board in September approved our annual budget request, and for the state grant program, it's about $350 million, which is about $40 million more, or a 12.8% increase than the $310 million that was appropriated in the current year. And this amount is really needed to maintain the historic high of $5,000 as the maximum state grant award. We're able to boost it up to $5,000 due to a number of factors. We had a higher than usual carry forward amount from the prior year, and that in large part was due to additional CARES Act funding that was pushed into the state grant program. That would be the positive as to why we were able to boost it and why we had so much carry forward. The negative, especially in the prior academic year, we saw the impact of the COVID pandemic on enrollment. And we had less students in the program than we historically have had, which also led to a carry forward. So that carry forward really enabled us to carry forward, plus our PHEAA supplement of 15 million for this year, plus the 310 million appropriation was able to get us to a point that we were able to hit a new historic high for the maximum state grant award. The downside to that is for the upcoming year, there's about a $40 million delta, which is why our appropriation request has increased so much. And as always, the PHEAA board will look at available agency resources towards the end of the fiscal year to determine if PHEAA is able to provide a supplement to this program. And I can't get ahead of our board, and we certainly need to evaluate our financial situation because 6 months out could look very different than today. But at this point, I'm pretty confident that I will be recommending to the board that we provide a $15 million supplement consistent with the prior 2 years, which will help fill this $40 million delta. PHEAA's board also approved asking for a 2.5% increase in our other student aid programs, and we ask for your help in advocating for these programs and the state grant programs, as it'll benefit many of your students. Finally, our budget request includes a $10 million ask or $10 million increase for the Ready to Succeed program. This is a scholarship-based program. There's a GPA requirement, but it basically picks up where the state grant program leaves off and pushes into that middle class bucket that often gets left out of the state grant program and the Pell programs, and can provide a $2,000 additional grant to students. Unfortunately, this program has been historically underfunded. Typically, it only gets about an appropriation of 5 to 6 million, and we really need about 15 to 16 million so that everyone that qualifies, that meets the GPA and other eligibility requirements, is able to get a grant. So again, any help that you have anytime that you're meeting with legislative leaders or your own state reps or own states senators, any help that you can provide to get the word out there that these programs do make a difference and they could use more funding. Another unique program that we have is what we call the Act 101 program. The Act 101 program was part of the Commonwealth's Higher Education Equal Opportunity Act of 1971, and now is at its 50th anniversary mark. Act 101 was created with the vision of enhancing post-secondary education opportunities and achievements of undergraduate students from economically and educationally underserved backgrounds. The Act 101 program assisted over 3,600 students at 34 participating institutions of higher education throughout the Commonwealth during the 1920 academic year. And it served more than 20,000 students over the last decade. There's a video, and we're not going to play it today because of the technology challenges it would likely create, but there's an excellent video to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Act 101 program. It's embedded on our website, and I'd encourage you to take a couple minutes and go view it. It's at PHEAA.org/Act101 video. I'd also encourage you, I mentioned there's 34 schools that participated in it. So there's a lot of schools that don't participate in this program. So I'd encourage you to think about if your school does not participate in it, think about participating, and you can reach out at act101@PHEAA.org. And again, this is really a program that, particularly with first-year students, can make the difference and help get them the resources they need to get through that critical first year. And hopefully, would have positive impacts on retention as well as completion of students that are typically underserved in this space. Wanted to touch a little bit on the CARES Act and some of the unique things that Pennsylvania was able to do as part of the CARES Act funding that we received. I mentioned already that the legislature was able to push additional funds into the state grant program. And actually, we pushed additional funds into the Act 101 program as well. But we also were able to do something for the PA Forward student loan program. The economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic was clearly felt by everyone, including millions of student loan borrowers who found themselves unemployed or facing financial hardships through no fault of their own. And when we really saw this on the servicing side was really the early days of the pandemic during sort of, I'll say, the extreme, when we shut everything down all at once for several months. So here in Pennsylvania, thousands of borrowers were able to benefit from the bipartisan efforts, and it really was a bipartisan effort led by our board chairman and a few other members of our board of directors, the prior Pennsylvania treasurer, Joe Torsella, Governor Wolf, and members of our board of directors and the General Assembly. They allocated $2.2 million of CARES Act funds. And what this really enabled us to do is it enabled us to roll the federal program benefits that direct loan borrowers were able to achieve to the PA Forward population. So they didn't need to make a payment for that period of time, as well as they essentially had a 0% interest rate through September 30th of 2020. As most of you know, the Commonwealth's combined resources were what led to the creation of the PA Forward loan program. And it's really, if you think about, for those PASFA members that have been long-time members, if you think about, 10 plus years ago, it's really the descendant of the Keystone Rewards, Keystone Best, and Keystone Extra programs, which, again, some of the longer serving PASFA members probably remember. And unfortunately, these programs were discontinued with the 2008 financial crisis. And we are now able to bring back the modern version of the programs 3 years ago. And the PA Forward student loan programs is a suite of state-based student loan products that allow students and families to borrow up to the total cost of attendance with a variety of upfront and repayment benefits. PHEAA is both the lender and the servicer. A line of credit is provided by the state treasurer, and a tax-exempt funding mechanism is provided by Community and Economic Development, DCD, which enables us to issue tax-exempt debt and pass those savings on to the students. In addition to all the programs we administer, above all, and if you take one thing away from the presentation, I think the thing that I'd like you to take away is that we are here to help, virtually or otherwise. So please don't hesitate to help, don't hesitate to reach out. I believe most of you should be familiar with our access partners, since they work closely with the schools in Pennsylvania to support the financial aid offices and the students at these schools. If you're new and have not had the opportunity to meet your access partner, please reach out. They're a great resource. Please, we have this group of people solely to benefit all of you and all of your students. We're especially happy to introduce Jonathan Warner, our newest access partner, who will be covering Fayette, Greene, Washington, and Westmoreland counties. Our PA School Services team conducted more than 2,200 activities during the 2020 calendar year, which included more than 970 financial aid nights and FAFSA completion sessions. And many of these were conducted in partnership with members of PASFA. So just we're presenting, in addition to my comments here today, I'd encourage you to attend some of the additional PHEAA sessions at PASFA this week. Our team members are excited to provide you with additional updates on PHEAA's programs and services. And don't forget to visit PHEAA's virtual conference booth. It's a great opportunity to learn about our free online resources, training materials, and publications that can benefit your schools and students, especially during these challenging times. I want to just wrap up by thanking you for your time this afternoon. And I also really want to thank you for your efforts over the past 18 months during the COVID-19 pandemic. This continues to be a challenging time for your students, your schools, and your financial aid offices. You are the glue that held together the financial aid process in Pennsylvania during the past 18 months, and your students have benefited from all of your hard work and dedication. Thank you for your service to the students of Pennsylvania, and thank you for all you do. And have a great afternoon. And I'm now looking to Will and Elizabeth to see if we've gotten any questions in.
Well, Mr. Steely, before we get to the chat room, I personally want to thank PHEAA. We truly value your partnership and your support. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
All right, folks, this is your time out there. Anything with the chat? Any questions for Mr. Steely?
I just wanted to put out a word to the youngsters out there. I put it in the chat. It was non-sub, not unsub. Pennsylvania did a non-sub loan before the feds had that. And at Penn State, we coded that in our system, GSLNS. People probably don't even remember GSL, the Guaranteed Student Loan Program. So yeah, hey, the gray beard had to say something about the old times, sorry.
And if folks don't have questions now, but as they come up during the conference, please feel free to contact any of our access partners, Elizabeth McLeod, Will Lindsay, and we will ensure that we get your questions. Again, if you take one thing away, it's we're here to help. We're here to support all of you. Your jobs were challenging before the pandemic. They've become so much more challenging during the pandemic. So anything we can do to help you reach the students of Pennsylvania, we're committed to. So with that, George, I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm going to turn it back to you.
Okay, well, that'll conclude this session here. I guess the next sessions will start at 1:30. So if you want to stick around into the chat rooms, Dan, I guess those will be open. Leave the chat rooms open, leave the business partners open. So we'll see everybody at 1:30.
Yep.
Anything else out there, Dan, or anybody?
Yep, visit your
Johnny?
exhibitors, visit everybody and participate in the, you want to win that prize. Go visit all of the exhibitors and do the contest in PHEAA.
Don't forget about the 50/50 too that's out there. Joni, this is a time that like when we're always there that we mention where the restrooms are and things like that too. So I just want to.
Everybody find your own restroom. I don't know where they're at.
Find your own restrooms. That's right, and breakout. So everybody enjoy their lunch. I guess for another 40 minutes. So all right, we'll see everybody at 1:30.
See y'all soon. Go visit your business partners.
Thank you.
Yes. Thanks, Mr. Steely.
Thank you, Mr. Steely.